Hey, you know what? I'm really glad to have mayoral candidate Albert Black here. I've known Mr. Black for a little bit of time.
Now you almost said Mayor Black. You almost said Mayor Black.
I probably
almost caught you. You know what I mean? That would have just been fine for me.
I'll probably do that throughout. You know,
it's okay.
little slip ups and everything.
You will be pardoned.
But we've got the Albert Black here today, and we're really glad to have him join us. And we're going to be talking about several different topics. And I want to encourage everybody to like, to share. And if you've got any questions, please send them to us and everything. But thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. More than welcome. I'm glad to be here with both of you. I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of talk about some things that's going on in Dallas. Perhaps talk about some things that's going on beyond Dallas, because, you know, Dallas, what happens in Dallas is affected so much about what's happening in Austin and what's happening in Washington. So let's just talk about it, mix it up, see what you got, where you guys want to go. Let's have a little fun with it.
Okay. Well, we like to have fun here.
Yes,
well,
we
hey,
do.
let's start right in the thick of things because, hey, just last week, a lot of people were talking about this. It's made national news in Dallas. 4 a.m. in Deep Ellum.
Wow.
Somebody was smacked 5 times. It was an awful situation. Someone was taken to jail, and everybody's in uproar, and they're trying to figure out if the person's been prosecuted, are they going to get the right charges against them and everything else. And these kinds of issues happen in big cities, and what a mayor would do in a situation like that is kind of up in the air, like what kind of role you play. Where do you see
Well, I think a mayor has to show up. One, this is a time when citizens need a mayor to really show up, to be there, to let people know that this is the kind of injustice that they can have the confidence in city police, and then the partnership that city police has to have with our district attorney, and that this process is going to work and that it's going to deliver the kind of justice at the right levels. I don't think citizens were pleased with the first charges coming out of DPD.
Yeah.
You know, a misdemeanor charge for something as brutal as what we saw.
Yes.
I don't think citizens want that. However, if that was the first stage kind of charge, well then, I think it's a mayor's responsibility to help articulate that message so that citizens can, again, believe in the process, believe in the city, and believe that justice will prevail.
Wow. Well, I love that. And so when you look at that video, I think what we see is the behavioral side. Whenever you see something like that, this actually traumatizes people to some degree.
Yes, it does.
And this is just what happened in Dallas. We know that there were other things that were going on in the news right now. That you've been talking about the Jussie Smollett case and how.
Yes.
What was the latest update on that? We got a new update yesterday.
Yeah,
All charges dropped.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, so if you're the mayor of Chicago right now, and all this has happened, and you put all this man hours into it, and then you get this kind of deal go on, what would you say if you were in those shoes right now?
I would say no different than what Mayor Ramiel did. I think he came out and said that he was bagging the police officers in this particular case, that they had done the proper investigation, they had presented the right files to the district attorney's office. The district attorney actually read those files publicly. They read the record publicly.
They did.
And it seems like a sure case to me, right?
Yeah.
People want to believe that when justice prevails, whether it be for one kind of person or another, I don't think that justice is assigned to race, as justice needs to be assigned, quite frankly, to people that are in need of justice. And in this case, it seemed like a sure case that this was a violation of public trust and a falsely filed case.
Yeah.
However, I wasn't in that back room. Perhaps Steve was in that back room.
I'm a deal lawyer, but I was not in that deal. But to add to that and everything, in both situations here, in Dallas, it looks like somebody is undercharged.
Yes.
And then and the race of that person happens to be white. This gentleman here. In Chicago, we have somebody who was overcharged.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It was a 17, 16 count indictment
Yes.
and everything. And so I've always thought that Jussie, the whole thing was weird, and I thought it was a little out of line and everything. But I thought the charges were way over the top. And the deal is, it was a non-violent infraction if in fact he is guilty and everything. And that's part of the issue with the justice system now, how it treats it should be blind. As a lawyer, there should be the rule of law followed and everything. And that's where I think a mayor can have a huge impact, is in ensuring that the process is followed and that the rule of law is followed, and that in fact justice is blind. And we know there's problems with it, but you're the kind of person I believe that can do that.
Sure.
I'm thinking.
Sure. Well, don't think too hard. I want you to know.
Oh, all right.
I don't want you contemplating. You know what mayor should do is you don't want a mayor that's interfering with police work. And you certainly don't want a mayor that is interfering with another jurisdiction, which is Dallas County. I have confidence in John Creuzot.
Okay.
I believe John Creuzot will deliver the right charges on this. John Creuzot, as of yesterday, had not received the files from DPD.
Thank you.
I think the mayor of Dallas, I think the Dallas Police Department can put this one on turbo boost. I think what they can say is the people want to know that there is a more severe charge coming because of what they've seen. See, when people get an opportunity to hear a story, they think one thing, they have to use their imaginations.
That's right.
But what we have today is everybody is on television, no matter where you are and what you're doing.
That's right.
You're being recorded.
That's right.
And so what we have is live broadcast of this brutal beating.
That's right.
This is a beating that we saw, so we get a chance to form our own opinions of the severity of it, the
right.
damaging effect of it. Now here's something that people need to hear from someone that's running to be your next mayor.
Okay.
This affected me. This affected my wife. This has affected the children in my family. We're saying we don't know how someone like this is allowed to remain on the streets.
Yeah.
When you have the capacity to beat another human being like this.
Yes.
To beat a woman is one thing. But I mean to beat a human being like this says that you have a degree of savagery in you that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
Well, the fact that he was hired and working with the public, and he's capable of doing some of these things as well. And, of course,
And pull a gun first.
Yes, and he had a gun. He walked up with a gun. So we talk about then from the behavioral side, when you see things escalate.
Yes.
The whole idea is we're taught, if you don't have something good to say, then don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
But evidently, this went way beyond just them shouting back at each other. It ended up people getting out of cars and ready to confront each other. So we tend to be now people who seem to be very outraged.
Yeah.
And social media has kind of helped it because, as you said, cameras are everywhere.
Sure.
So when you see this and you're trying to speak to a citizenship that says, listen, this is not healthy when we have people that are willing to do this, what would you say, or what might be some things that you would encourage for us to do as we look at it from an individual standpoint of just people just thinking they can be however they want to be on people? What do you think?
I always
is
assume
lost?
the worst. You never know what people are carrying. People today, Texas is certainly a state that embraces concealed carry handguns. There's so many people in Texas with handguns, and so we always have to be careful of that. We have to know the time of day here. It's anywhere from 4 to 4:30 a.m. So in both cases, there was alcohol involved. And so when you throw alcohol into what people have to be extremely fatigued. They're fatigued after a long day at work, a long day of entertaining themselves. You throw in alcohol, you're in deep Ellum, you're frustrated, and the next thing you know, you've got this type of volatility. But nothing excuses the fact of this kind of brutality. This is not about a circumstance of frustration. This is about a propensity of one human being to cause this kind of harm on another human being. What I looked at said that he was motivated by the damage that he was inflicting. that if the first punch wouldn't have caused as much damage, well, then he wouldn't have delivered a second punch. And if he would have continued to damage her to degrading degrees, well, then he would have continued to beat.
Yeah.
See, it's the nature of the oppressor. What the oppressor wants, the oppressor gets excited about how defeated that individual is being. That's what we call kicking them when they're down.
Yes.
I think that if she would have gone down on the ground, I believe that the beatings would have continued because I think there was something exciting about this for him. There was adrenaline rushing and some other kind of emotions that I won't even go into.
Yes.
Well,
But you cannot leave people like that at risk in public to have this kind of encounter with other people. He needs to be taken off the streets.
I agree with that. And the other thing is this, where there's a lot of confusion, is this whole idea of the concealed handguns. I've had several people comment about, hey, if in fact he had a right to have a concealed handgun, he could pull it out at any moment, and therefore he would not even commit a crime because he had some just a liberated right to pull a gun out at any time. People who have concealed handgun licenses, which is completely false and outrageous.
Well, when he committed that crime, pulling that gun out made that gun wrong. That made that an aggravated offense.
That's exactly
Whereas
right.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sitting here taking the bar.
That's right.
not the reason. I'm not competing for your job. I would love your wage. But I do know that, one is relatively benign until you do the other.
Absolutely.
And he did it.
He did it.
And so his employer moved swiftly.
They did.
That lets DPD know the degree of speed in which you can move.
That's right.
His employer, understanding their liability, said, "You're fired."
That's right.
Right? Immediately, if not sooner, he was fired. And I think what DPD has to do is understand that Dallas is at a tipping point.
That's exactly
And
right.
it remains at a tipping point.
That's right.
Because of a lot of social, economic, criminal justice related matters. Dallas is always at that tipping point, and it got there because of a boiling point.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And we have to understand that. I think there's an incredibly low appreciation for that because today is such an extraordinary economy. Coming here today, Chris and I was riding over, and we were passing some of this extraordinary construction that we see outside of your beautiful offices right now. We're looking at these cranes. Chris and I found those cranes so vivid that when we were driving in the car, we actually ducked. We ducked to miss the cranes. This is a beautiful city with awesome construction going on. Like you said earlier, it's a day that is sunshine out day, and it's beautiful day in Dallas, Texas. But there's something wrong. You see, there's not enough people enjoying this economy. There's an incredible divide in our city.
Yeah.
The issue of the haves and the have-not has got people rolling up with steam, and they're about to burst, and it's manifesting in things like domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's manifesting in things like mental health.
Yes.
It's manifesting in suicide, mental health gone to the extreme.
That's right.
It's manifesting in drug addiction. It's manifesting in things that mayors can make a difference
Sound like a
on.
sermon here. I love it. and so you have just eased right into economic development.
Yes.
And we did get a question from someone about South Dallas.
Yes.
And Redbird and other areas.
Yes.
What would be your position? What would you do as mayor of Dallas?
Well, something, the best way to fall into what I will do is what I've done. My entire career, I've led initiatives into Southern Dallas that says that we can employ people, improve infrastructure, add to the tax base, and develop leaders like yourself that can be employed in those communities to provide the kind of leadership that makes them a sustainable community from one generation to another. Now, here's how we can do it. By having more and more people of color involved in the magnificent public work projects that we've got on, these public partnerships, these public initiatives, we certainly ought to have a lion's share of. But these public-private partnerships we haven't been able to get in, and I'm finding that the old rules of exclusions have been applied again.
So that's interesting because the kind of work I do transactions.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes I work for governments, government agencies, and so P3s. That's what you're
Yes,
talking
yes,
about.
yes, yes.
And in some areas, it seems like in those P3 areas, which are governmental projects, there's not as much participation from others sometimes. Is that what you're sort of alluding to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's not, and there's a consensus that I am hearing again from people that are leading these type of projects that I find embarrassing.
Okay.
I'm taking ownership of. I want my behavior in this mayoral race, even at risk of being cast as someone that is angry.
Okay.
I have to bring up the issues that some of the barriers of entry for small or emerging
Yes.
or companies headed by people of color, some of the same old barriers of entries are being reapplied. It is amazing of the way that they've reached power has reached back onto the shelves and brought out these barriers. Here's what it sounds like. What we're going to have to do in order to assess how we can approach some of the big public works projects that we've got and some of the public-private partnerships is we're going to have a survey on capacity.
Okay.
Have you heard that one before?
I have.
You see, that was something we were using 30 years ago. We've got to have capacity surveys. It's because you cannot assume that supply of diverse companies will meet the demand of we don't know where we stand. And therefore, we will have to do a study. And from the study, there has to be a compatibility study, and that is how compatible are you, your law firm, with me, my law firm, before we can work together. See, the assumption is because we're lawyers that we can work together, but they've determined that no, we can't. So we have to have compatibility, and then we have to have the ability to put firms or service companies into these arrangements called mentor-protege arrangements. Now, I'm 59 years old, and I've been in business for 36 years, and I've had my share of failure, but I've certainly had my share of success. And if I'm going to go into a mentor-protege relationship, I'm not willing for somebody to immediately name me the protege.
That would be anti-productive.
At some time, it's our time to lead.
That's right. No, you're
It's
right.
our time to lead. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with us. Sometimes we don't need to hear people telling us that you're unfit. See, we've done that our entire lives. You remember our grandparents was telling us, not us, but they were telling our parents, now, you've got to go and get your high school education. You've got to go to high school and you have got to graduate.
That's right.
Mama didn't graduate, but you've got to graduate. And then we did. We thought life would be better. It really wasn't. So we had to go to college and we had to get us a degree. And we got us a degree. And life wasn't exponentially better for us. It really wasn't. And then we had to have a master's. And whereas we still don't know what master's degree means, we got them. Most people don't know what a master's degree is. However, we have master's degrees. I'm being a little facetious there.
Right.
What I'm saying here is we're always being asked to qualify ourselves further. That creates incredible frustration that I believe I can only address if I'm retired. So I retired from our company. I can only do it if I divest from our company.
Okay.
So that I can have one card. One card and be the ethical kind of representative at that council that can set a new standard. I think what you know. And that is we need to recast, in many cases, elected officials in Dallas, Texas.
As in, give them a different role? Is that what you mean by recast?
No, sir. When was the last time we elected a pro-business, bridge building, problem solving, African American to office?
2008? Is it? Wait,
When was that? When was the last time we did a person with a business resume?
Yes. Oh, okay. Now you okay? Now okay.
Business, the
Yes.
distinction is business. Yeah.
Okay.
See, now here's what we've done. See, over the years we've endorsed. See, we've been brought candidates and we've been told that they've run this kind of company and that they parachuted down into this kind of committee and they worked on housing or they worked on the bridge
Yes.
and that sure would like your support. And we've been impressed with their business resume and we've been impressed with their willingness to hang around with poor people for a little while. And we've given them out their endorsement. Here's what I'm saying. I'd like people to take a look at the 36-year record that I've had hiring thousands of people. I'd like the people to take a look at the civic resume that I bring to this race. There is no one in this race, and I question whether there's been in any race in the history of Dallas that has the civic resume that I have.
Okay.
It is just unbelievable the wonderful life that I've been able to live because business has been good to me. But the way that business became good to me, I don't want anybody to go through that because they may not make it through it. You see, we had to fight too hard for the opportunities that we've got in business. I don't know if we live in an environment today that you can come out of that experience whole. I did because we had a group of corporate leaders in Dallas that knew Dallas would have to change. And I was able to latch on to the kind of, they were willing to allow me to disturb the equilibrium, and I had the courage to actually do it. You follow what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And so you come in and you work with them, making them more complete in those ventures that they wanted to do that I was better suited to help with than they were. They wanted to work on matters like education. They wanted to work on matters like public housing. They wanted to work on issues that I knew I had better experience than them. So I went to an old Zig Ziglar type of quote that said, the best way for you to get what you want is to make sure that other people get what they want. I went to work with just relentless making sure that they got what they wanted. That transformed into them needing me more often, and needing that putting me into proximity with them. In that proximity, I was asked the question, young man, what is it that you do? And that was an opportunity for me to break out what our coach here would tell us is your 30-second elevator speech.
That's right.
That was the opportunity to say, we're a regional logistics management firm, global customers, international responsibilities. Now, what does that mean? That means that we bring a profit motive to your dock. We allow you to go and focus on your core competency of DSP technologies or analog technology while we're retraining and developing Ellum on the dock. So when you see the big warehousing centers of Texas Instruments or AT&T or some of the other large organizations like Encore Electric Utilities, the women and men that are making sure those supply chains are managed are on-target supplies and logistics employees. They got on the on-target hat, the on-target shirts, and the on-target boots because they're always climbing to different heights. They're always doing good stuff. They're always making sure that we're adding the kind of value that we're going closer and closer and closer to our customers' core competency. And that secured our place in the supply chain. And for the average customer we've had for over 26 years.
Well, that is amazing because what you're telling me is that now you are retired.
Yes.
You were no longer with the company.
No, I can't do that. And I'm running for mayor. And I said this to you early, Steve, I'm running to win. And if I win mayor, well, then I'm not going to have the conflict of interest that I've resented so much.
From others, yeah.
Yeah.
It's out there.
When you have a card, that says Mayor of Dallas, you have taken an oath. In that oath, you have accepted a duty of loyalty and a duty of care.
Yes.
If you're carrying a business card of your law firm, a business card of your development firm, you have a duty of loyalty and a duty of care for them. I do not know how you reconcile that when that kind of industry approaches you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and not to try. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left,
Yeah.
and one of the topic was education. You sort of touched on it a little bit and everything. You know, DISD. I think they got a grade of B.
Yeah.
Which, sometimes you think, oh, that's average, but actually that's very good. And they're the darling of the state in many ways of how they've transformed education here in Dallas. What are your thoughts on that? And again, Mayor, how you partner with the school district, what are your thoughts?
I have a debt of gratitude to Dallas Public Schools. I graduated from Samuel High School in 1977. You may want to edit that out. I'm always afraid that they're going to come and rescind my diploma.
What year did you say you graduated?
In 1877.
Okay.
I graduated. Did you hear that?
Star Wars came out.
It was 1977. I came out. I have a debt of gratitude for it. Dallas Public School. But I'd like to remind people that the proper name for Dallas Public School is Dallas Independent School District.
Okay.
I want us to recognize the jurisdiction of those trustees. I want us to respect that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I want us to stop as development community. I want the real estate community. I want the privatization kind of pirates to stop the onslaught of Dallas Public Schools. Doing this kind of takeover. What's being lost is what's happening to children. Children of middle-class families are heading toward the suburbs.
Yeah.
Children of poor families are being ushered off to chartered schools. So yeah, you're improving test scores, you're improving the performance of schools, but you're reducing it by school size, which creates a greater recapture rate by the state than you would normally have. Now, we complain about a recapture rate, but the fact of the matter is our enrollment is down.
That's true.
We're closing schools and closing schools and closing schools, and it's ridiculous. Then when you look at where these schools are closed, it just happens to be around that development area for the next 5 years. I'm not buying it. Whereas I am not the greater conspiracy theorist as our coach is here. He's a fellow that believes, that Elvis shot JFK. I'm not over in his camp, but I do believe that this is a grand plan to remove people from the inner cities and to make Dallas a more homogeneous place than it is today. And I would like for it to be a more inviting place. So other than good governance, which is our key plank in our platform, we have neighborhood beautification, stabilization, and revitalization as a part of what we're doing. What we want is housing remediation. There's 1,500 flat available lots to build on in Dallas, Texas. I'm finding that professionals, firefighters, teachers, lawyers, preachers, would love to come on back to Dallas. You see, over the years, they've moved to Duncanville, DeSoto, Plano, Frisco. What I want to do is go on trade missions, right? The kind of trade missions that have taken me all over the world. I want to say, let's start local and go to trade missions to these areas, meet with homeowners groups or former citizens of Dallas, sit down with them and say, we have these incentives for you to come back into our city, and we hope you'll consider them.
Okay. Well, hey, we got 30 seconds, a little or less here. Albert, we want to really thank you for joining us It's been an absolute pleasure.
Can you tell it was fun for me?
Oh yeah, I can tell. Matter of fact, at one point here, I thought we were in church. I really do appreciate that. And so, any parting words in the last few seconds here?
You know, here's what we're doing. We're running on family values. You know, we think one of the better antidotes for poverty is keeping families together.
Okay.
We're running pro-business. We don't see enough companies with the opportunity to be a part of the American free enterprise that are headed up by African Americans, Latinos, and other people of color in Dallas, Texas. So those basic values we are bringing into this, and I realize that that is not the normal kind of platform that you would see a mayor like me run on. However, I'm asked to be given an opportunity. I'm asking to allow me to take my life experience, my business experience, and my civic resume of working with complex boards and very, very type A powerful people. Allow me to take that into the mayor's office, set new standards, listen and learn from council people, allow them to teach me the ways of the council so that they will eventually accept me as the mayor of Dallas, and let's get good things together.
Okay. All
I
right.
love it. It's great. Well, we know if you don't share, people don't care. So what I'm hearing today is respect is there.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
Thank y'all so much.
Hey, we want to encourage y'all to like, to share, and send your comments below, and we'll be following up. So thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Enjoy your day. Thank
We'll
you.
see.